Hello to all my viewers. This is Dr. Dhaval Maheta, and today we'll understand how to run self-exciting threshold autoregressive, that is SETAR model in EViews. The self-exciting threshold autoregressive, that is SETAR model, is a type of a non-linear time series model that allows for changes in the dynamics of time series based on the level of threshold variable. This model is particularly useful when dealing with data that exhibit different behaviors in different regimes or states. SETAR model is very often confused with TAR, that is threshold autoregressive. Don't be surprised if you see a TAR model in a statistical package that is actually a SETAR. Every SETAR is a TAR, but not every TAR is a SETAR. Simple example. Imagine a smart thermostat installed in a home. This thermostat is designed to adjust the heating and cooling of the house based on the temperature readings and predefined thresholds. Regime 1, heating mode. Condition: when the temperature drops below 20 degrees Celsius, the action is the thermostat activates the heating system to warm the house. Behavior: as the heating kicks in, the temperature gradually increases. Once the temperature rises to 20 degrees Celsius, the heating turns off automatically, preventing the house from getting too warm. Regime 2, cooling mode. Condition: when the temperature rises above 25 degrees Celsius. Action: the thermostat activates the cooling system to lower the house temperature. Behavior: as the cooling system runs, the temperature gradually decreases. Once the temperature falls to 25 degrees Celsius, the cooling system automatically turns off, preventing the house from getting too cold. How SETAR works: the thermostat adjusts its behavior based on the current temperature, which is a key feature of the SETAR model. The system excites itself by responding to the past temperature readings and adjusts the heating or cooling accordingly. What is the difference between TAR model and the SETAR model? TAR model we have already discussed in my previous video. Kindly refer to my playlist. Regime switching mechanism. Regime switching occurs based on external threshold variable. In case of SETAR, regime switching is based on the lagged values of the dependent variable itself. Just remember, here we are taking the lagged value of the dependent variable. Threshold variable. Threshold variable is chosen from the external variable, could be exogenous. Threshold variable is always the lagged version of the dependent variable, endogenous. Complexity of the model can be simpler or more complex depending on how threshold is specified. Consider a special case of the TAR model, typically more focused on the dependent variable. Lag structure. Lags of both dependent and independent variables can be included. Lags are taken only from the dependent variable. Example: modeling GDP based on external variables like interest rates. Modeling GDP based on past value of GDP itself. Threshold autoregressive model, self-exciting threshold autoregressive model, their difference. Specification: the threshold could be from another variable like interest rates or inflation. The threshold is determined solely by the lagged value of the dependent variable. Estimation of the threshold. The threshold value is either fixed or estimated based on an external process. The threshold value is estimated from the lagged values of the dependent variable. Application: used in cases where external economic or financial indicators are believed to affect the regime change. Used in cases where the past behavior of the variable itself is believed to influence its future behavior. Interpretation. Interpretation depends on the external threshold variable. Here, interpretation focuses on self-exciting nature, that is internal dynamics of the dependent variable. Example in economics: modeling unemployment regimes based on inflation. Modeling unemployment regimes based on the past unemployment levels. Advantages of self-exciting threshold autoregression, that is a SETAR models. Captures non-linear relationships. SETAR models can effectively capture non-linear relationships in the data that traditional linear models may miss. This allows for more accurate representation of economic phenomena where the relationships vary under different conditions. Identification of structural change. SETAR models enable the identification of different regimes or states within the data, which can reflect structural changes in the economy. For instance, different economic conditions may lead to varying aspects of inflation on unemployment. Threshold effects. The ability to specify thresholds allow researchers to explore how relationships change when certain conditions are met. This is particularly useful for understanding critical points where the behavior of the dependent variable shifts dramatically. Improved forecasting. By accommodating regime shifts, SETAR model can provide more accurate forecast for future values of a time series, especially in volatile economic environments. This leads to a better decision making based on predicted future scenarios. Robustness to outliers. SETAR models can be more robust to outliers and extreme values in the data since they model different regimes separately. This can lead to more reliable estimates and interpretations. Compatibility with other models. SETAR models can be integrated with other econometric methods such as VAR or VECM to provide a more comprehensive analysis of multivariate time series data. Key concepts of self-exciting threshold autoregression model. The SETAR model divides the data into different regimes based on the thresholds of the variable, often the lagged values of the time series itself. If the value of time series is above or below the threshold, the behavior or the dynamics of the system changes. Just try to recall the example of the thermostat. For example, if the time series value, that is yt minus d, where d is a delay or lag, exceeds a certain threshold, the time series might follow one autoregressive process, and if it falls below the threshold, it may follow a different autoregressive process. Regimes. The model assumes multiple regimes, each characterized by its own autoregressive process. For instance, there might be two regimes, one where the time series follows an AR1 process and another where it follows AR2 process, depending on whether a threshold is crossed. Each regime can have a different dynamics, such as different coefficients for the autoregressive terms, different constants, and different error terms. Self-exciting property. The term self-exciting refers to a fact that a threshold is determined by the lagged values of the time series itself as opposed to an external variable which we are using in TAR. The model is self-regulated, meaning that the time series drive its own regime switches based on the past values. Autoregressive structure. Within each regime, the SETAR model follows an autoregressive process. The structure could be linear in each regime, but the overall model is non-linear due to the regime switching behavior. An AR process of order. An AR process of order P, denoted ARP, means that the current value of the time series depends on the past values. Threshold. The model splits the time series based on whether the value of yt minus 2, the lagged value 2 periods ago, exceeds to regime 1. If yt minus 2 is less than 5, then the process follows an AR1 model with a positive trend. Regime 2. If yt minus 2 is greater than or equal to 5, the process follows an AR2 model, possibly with more stable or slower growth rate. The SETAR model is useful when a time series exhibits different behaviors depending on past values. Example, rapid growth followed by slower growth when a threshold is crossed. So here, yt is a dependent variable and we can have multiple equations for multiple regimes based on the threshold value. So yt is time series variable at time t, phi r constant in the rth regime, the theta ri autoregressive coefficients for the rth regime, here is it, gamma 1, gamma 2, the threshold values, they can be different. PR, the order of the ER process in the rth regime, and this is the error term. Now let's take one case study. The case study investigates the non-linear dynamics between the inflation and unemployment from January 1946 to May 2005 using a self-exciting threshold autoregressive model, that is a SETAR model, with unemployment as a dependent variable and inflation as an independent variable. Inflation as an independent variable will be introduced later on. By defining unemployment thresholds that self-select different regimes within the data, we observe how unemployment responds to inflation across various unemployment levels. Now let's see how we can do this in EViews. So this is the data, the default data set which is given in EViews, CPI and unemployment. We are having inflation and unemployment rate. Data is from 1946 to 2005. To run SETAR model, what we will do, we will go in quick estimate equation. From here, we will activate threshold regression. Now, the threshold autoregressive model we have discussed in my previous video. Kindly refer to the playlist. So here I will write unemployment rate, C constant, and here I will write 1, that is one lag value. Okay, so whenever I write a number, it is SETAR. See here, and whenever I write here any other variable apart from unemployment rate, then that is a TAR model. So write 1, click OK, done, and the output is ready. So unemployment rate lag 1, if it is less than 4.5, 171 observations are there. Unemployment rate lag 1, if its value is between 4.5 to 5.5, 142 observations. 5.5 to 6.19, 167 observations. 6.19 to 7.19, 91 observations. 7.19 or greater than that, 117 observations. It is having different regimes and C is a constant. Now let's do the interpretation of this. Regime 1, 171 observations. The unemployment rate is around 3.77% when the lagged unemployment rate is less than 4.5%. So when this is 4.5%, this is 3.77%. So this is past value and this is current value. The constant suggests that when unemployment is low, it tends to hover around this value. The constant is highly significant with the p-value is 0.00, which is less than 0.05. Okay, this is first regime. Second, from 4.5 to 5.5, regime 2. So when the unemployment rate in the previous period, see it is -1 in the previous period, if it ranges below 4.5 to 5.5, the current unemployment rate will be 5.09. Let's interpret. In this regime, when the unemployment rate in the previous period is between 4.5 and 5.5, the average unemployment rate is around 5.09%. Again, the coefficient is highly significant with a very large t statistics. So this is also significant, p-value less than 0.05. Regime 3. This one, 5.5 to 6.19. When the unemployment rate in the previous period is between 5.5% and 6.2%, the unemployment rate is around 5.76. This is 5.76. This constant is also highly significant, indicating a consistent relationship between the lagged and current unemployment. Fourth regime, 6.2 to 7.2. When the lagged unemployment rate is between 6.2 and 7.2%, the unemployment rises to around 6.69%. This is significant finding, indicating a strong influence of past unemployment in this range. Now, when the unemployment rate is in the past is greater than or equal to 7.2, the current unemployment will be 8.01. So when the unemployment rate in the previous period is greater than or equal to 7.2%, the unemployment rate reaches around 8.01%. This is the t statistics is very high and the p-value is also less than 0.05. So it is significant. Conclusions. The model captures how unemployment evolves across different ranges of past unemployment levels. As unemployment increases, the current unemployment rate tends to increase further in each successive regime, showing stickiness or persistence. Now, again we will go in the model, estimate. and we will include inflation here and click OK. So now we are having the constant as well as the inflation, how inflation is affecting the unemployment. So I have again copied this on the slide. Let's do the interpretation for this also. First regime, unemployment rate for the past 1 lakh, if it is 4.4, 160 observations are there. And what is the inflation here? So it is 0.006. Okay. In this regime, the coefficient for inflation is 0.006, meaning that for a 1% increase in inflation, unemployment is expected to increase by 0.0065. However, the high p-value, this p-value is very high, indicates that this relationship is not statistically significant because p-value is more than 0.05. Therefore, inflation does not have a meaningful or significant effect on unemployment when the unemployment is below 4.4%. Okay. Now we will see for regime 2, 4.4 to 5.5. So here also, see the p-value for inflation. It is more than 0.05. Again, it is insignificant. So what will be our interpretation? In this regime, the coefficient for inflation is 0.005, suggesting a small positive relationship between inflation and unemployment, where a 1% increase in inflation is associated with 0.059% increase in unemployment. However, the p-value is high, indicating that this effect is not statistically significant in this range of unemployment. Inflation does not statistically significantly impact unemployment when employment is between 4.4 and 5.5. Okay, let's talk about this. Regime 3, p-value more than 0.05. Here also p-value more than 0.05, and here also it is more than 0.05. So in all the regimes, inflation is not affecting the unemployment rate. So this is the interpretation which you can see for regime 3 and regime 4. This is for regime 5. Overall interpretation. Across all regimes, the relationship between inflation and unemployment is weak and statistically insignificant as indicated by the high p-values. This suggests that the inflation does not have a significant or consistent impact on the unemployment rate in any of the unemployment regimes studied here. So this means that unemployment is not significant. Now what we will do, again we will go in the equation, estimate, we will remove inflation from here, and we will include in the list of threshold non-varying regressors. And let's see the results. Click OK. So again, I will get the values of unemployment. Let's do the interpretation. Coefficient of inflation in this regime, non-threshold variable, inflation is considered. So inflation has a very small and statistically insignificant impact on unemployment across all regimes. Just see here, you will have a non-threshold variables INF. Here also p-value is more than 0.05. Therefore, inflation is not affecting unemployment. The coefficient of 0.002 suggests that a 1% increase in inflation would increase the unemployment rate by just 0.0021%, which is negligible. Moreover, a high p-value means the relationship is not statistically significant. Now see the constant in all regimes, significant, 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 and significant. So the unemployment rate, the result shows that the unemployment rate is strongly dependent on its previous values. And as the unemployment rate increases in the previous period, the future unemployment rate increases as well. Each regime shows a clear upward shift in the predicted unemployment rate as the lagged unemployment rate moves through the higher ranges. Inflation. Inflation does not appear to play a significant role in influencing the unemployment rate as indicated by the small coefficient and high p-value. The unemployment rate is primarily driven by its past values rather than by changes in the inflation. So this was all about how to run self-exciting threshold autoregressive model, that is a SETAR model in EViews. For more videos on econometrics using EViews, kindly subscribe to my channel. You can also refer my playlist in which I have uploaded videos on data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. Please don't forget to like and share my videos. You can also follow me on different social medias, link given in the description box.